What is cultural competency? How can we know if we've achieved it, and how can we get there in the first place? We struggle every day with drawing preconceived notions of people based on their subjectivities. Maybe we are culturally destructive for a moment and just desire for a different group to get over their own uniqueness and assimilate into American culture. Perhaps we follow Stephen Colbert's lead and pronounce ourselves colorblind, or having cultural blindness essentially say that anyone's race, sexuality, gender, etc. has not meaningfully impacted your life in a way I should acknowledge. Or maybe, just maybe, we can move beyond these stages to cultural precompetence, the ability to name the difference between me and another based on our own cultural subjectivities. Lastly, if we have been helped along the way, there is a chance we rest at cultural competence, the place where we can not only name the difference in each of us, but value every last one of them for what they are, a benefit to society. Every individual, and even every community, is somewhere along the line of cultural competence. Our place in this cultural competence continuum marks how we see those different from us, how we respond, and how we perhaps sometimes fail to embrace the differences that make us as a society who we are. For when there are lapses in this cultural competence, both for individuals and for the UNC community as a whole, there are organizations to pick up for the slack. One such organization is La Casa. La Casa is a living learning community at UNC that is committed to speaking Spanish within their residence hall. Living learning communities provide a space for students to connect with the university experience. It is typically first years and transfer students who choose this living option.
Ultimately, La Casa wants to help its members connect with the Latino community in Chapel Hill, and they offer a variety of ways to make that happen. Students living in La Casa connect further with the Latino community through improving their Spanish language skills, attending weekly meetings and periodic events with guest speakers who highlight the struggles and strengths of the Latino community, working on service projects, and taking a class on peer leadership. Any one of these activities will go a long way to help improve an individual's cultural competency, but all of them happening together within a close-knit and passionate community has the potential to create change well beyond the walls of Craig North. The first step in seeing the difference and being able to name it is learning more about it. In this case, students in La Casa learn more about the Latino community, and in the process, they can name the differences between Latinos and others in the Chapel Hill community, and even themselves sometimes, and find value within those differences. The first step towards understanding the Latino community better is being able to literally understand what they say. In short, learning Spanish. Learning Spanish is not easy, but La Casa gives students opportunities to practice they wouldn't have elsewhere. There are some people in La Casa who of course speak Spanish better than other people, but everyone is really supportive of each other, good at helping. La Casa gives students a chance to get better at Spanish, but it is not all about learning the language. So many people I've heard of don't join because they think it's only for Spanish speakers or only native speakers, but that's just not true. There's people who don't speak any Spanish or next to nothing, but it's overall learning and we're all interested in getting better. While it is not an exclusive community limited to fluent Spanish speakers, it does help improve Spanish skills. Says one member, "My Spanish has already gotten so much better." Learning the language is all well and good, but La Casa doesn't stop there. Its members go out into the real world via service projects and put those language skills, along with their passion for Latino community, into practice. La Casa couples real-life service experience with local members of the Latino community with weekly chances to listen to a speaker talk about some aspect of the Latino experience in the U.S. Every week, students are required to attend a meeting where they can learn more about the challenges facing Latinos right here in Chapel Hill. Unlike many groups in the nation, though, they respond to this greater understanding with greater action. A big part of the La Casa experience revolves around service. So service is really important to La Casa as an organization, and in our contract, it stipulates we do a certain amount of service hours, 10 a semester, but most people do way more than that, and we are involved in group service projects. All members interviewed mentioned how they had learned about different service opportunities available within the Latino community, and then followed that up with specific service actions taken through the semester.
There is a lot to be gained from listening to speakers and gaining knowledge about different groups, but there is no substitute for actually experiencing a community firsthand. At some point, theoretical understanding has to be supplemented by concrete experience, which is something La Casa members understand very well. Working with the Latino community that they are attempting to understand helps La Casa students progress towards seeing diversity in a much more real way. La Casa requires all its students to log at least 10 service hours, but this threshold is typically surpassed by its members. Most students find a recurring service position. While involved in service in the Latino community, many students have been humbled by the experiences they've had. Lee told us a story about a girl that she tutored in English. She was fresh from Honduras, 20 years old, trying to make a better life for herself, working as a waitress at Med Deli, not knowing any English, having to live in an apartment, not having any of her family live here, not having her siblings here, who she cared for years. And she was telling me all this, and she is still so happy. Kind of the fact that she is doing everything that she can to make it. Like, you're working as a waitress at Med Deli. No one who comes from a middle-class white family would ever consider that their shot. Working as a waitress, and not having any sort of college education, not being very literate, and trying to teach her, when it's even hard for her to read Spanish, trying to teach her how to pronounce English letters.
La Casa connects students with others who are invested in the Spanish-speaking community. It allows its members to not only explore the culture, but to truly embrace it and celebrate its uniqueness. Personal gains are certainly present, but reaching out to those outside of the community is also a priority. One may assume that every member of the La Casa community has a Latino culture in common. However, this is not the case. This is what makes La Casa unique. Students are all from diverse backgrounds and enter the community with various levels of knowledge concerning the Spanish language and culture. As one member explains, they join the group in hopes of reaching outside of their little tiny county bubble. They want to absorb everything that the world has to offer, and La Casa seemed like a solid first step on the journey of doing this. Members are consistently reflecting on the ways that they interact with the world after completing service. Jared spoke about realizing his privilege. I just wasn't aware of how much privilege I have. Through learning about the Latino community and a lot of the struggles that the Latino community have faced, it has really taught me how to check my privilege. You have to be aware. I think in the university, we know that there's nothing that makes anyone better than another person. But there is institutionalized oppression that gives me more privileges than others, and that doesn't make it okay. I think it has been empowering for our members to learn about this. Potential members often develop a misconception about La Casa. They assume it is reserved for native Spanish speakers. In reality, La Casa wants to provide a place for overall learning with little to no regard on one's ability. The passion for learning that exists within La Casa also expands outward. Their passion for service also allows them to use their knowledge and love of the Spanish culture and language to encourage others to understand it and embrace the differences that exist.